Welcome. You're watching The Big Question. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Now, in the past few days, the country and the entire world has seen the might of the Indian Armed Forces as they launched Operation Sindoor, conducted precision strikes at terror hubs in Pakistan and successfully thwarted the swarm of drone attacks from Pakistan. What the world has also seen is the success of our indigenous, made-in-India weapons, a feat that many believed India was perhaps not capable of a few years ago, completing missions in 23 minutes and destroying Pakistan's foreign-supplied weaponry. These have all been the result of made-in-India weapons. Now, this is the important perspective to look at in context. India has been an importer of arms for the last several decades. Our nation has relied heavily on foreign imports to meet our defense needs, making India the second largest arms importer in the world, with indigenous capabilities playing a limited role. In fact, indigenous defense production was often viewed as slow, uncertain, or symbolic. But that perception is now being rewritten. From a 65 to 70% import dependency, India has come down to 35% and aims to become a net exporter in the next few years. Defense exports are up by 34 times over 11 years. Defense production has seen an almost 3x increase. Now, while efforts have been underway to build self-reliance, Operation Sindoor marks the first significant test of these capabilities in action. For the first time, India's indigenous weapons were tested not just in trials, but on the battlefield. And they delivered. Some of the indigenous stars of Operation Sindoor were the Akash missile system, the Nagastra-1 kamikaze drones, ISRO satellites that kept surveillance and Indian citizens safe. These weapons not only defended, but also neutralized enemy weapons like the PL-15 missiles of Chinese origin, Turkish origin drones, and much more. So understand it like this: while the enemy had to import and was using weaponry made by China, by Turkey, India was hitting back, striking back, and defending, of course, with technology with our partners, but largely with indigenous weapons. Post-Operation Sindoor, India's technological edge and tactical superiority has been recognized by experts around the world. So in that sense, Operation Sindoor is not just a military milestone, it's also a watershed moment for made-in-India weapons and the defense sector in the country. Now, that's something, of course, that those of you who follow equity markets have been seeing in defense stocks. But this is a bigger story than just that. It's a moment that shows the transformation of India's defense sector from a buyer to a builder, from importer to innovator. And that's the big question we're talking about today. Is Operation Sindoor Indian defense sector's moment in the sun? And who better to speak on it than Ankit Mehta, CEO and co-founder Idea Forge, Ashok Atluri, Chairman and MD, Zen Technologies. Welcome to both of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us here on NDTV Profit. Just to set the ground rules straight, we're not talking about the financials of your companies here. We're not talking about your balance sheet. And of course, we will not ask you to divulge anything which will not be in our national interest. But we want to get a sense of how big a paradigm shift this is. Mr. Atluri, let me begin with you setting the context, because this is something we're seeing externally. But you know the shift and the tectonic shift that has taken place in the Indian indigenous defense sector.
Yeah, I think this is a big event, Tamanna. I think what's changed is the perception that India, the made in India brand has improved because of this. I think this was a fantastic marketing opportunity for us. And I do feel that some companies have really come out tops. They have proven their products, and the government is really very excited that it's not only. So now the government has shifted from talking about only make in India for the India, but making in India for the world. Now they're trying to identify global champions. When we talk about being a net exporter, what we want is identify few product segments in which we can absolutely dominate the world and pour a lot of R&D amount into it, and then so export it to the world. But again, even before that, these companies should be have been battle tested. They have been also indigenous IP tested, in the sense there is a category called Buy Indian IDDM, in which they examine the IP content and they buy only Indian-made, Indian-developed drones and anti-drones. So I think this whole thing from, basically the effort that was started in 2016 by Mr. Parikar when he introduced the IDDM category, 2020 reiterated. So, and now we are actually seeing that in the battlefield, the products have worked. This is a huge, huge thing. And I think the days for India to become a major defense player, not a made, so, when people say make in India, I do get a little irritated. It is design, develop, and make in India. The IP is owned by us. We are not just partnering with it. So that's one category. Of course, there are other categories, as you said. We are collaborating with foreign players to develop locally and then sell it. Yes, but this is a complete India game now.
This I just love this. Zen-Tech, and by the way, stock has been on upper circuit for the last several days. That's not what we're discussing today, but just that confidence. He gets irritated when people say make in India. We're designing in India, we're ideating in India, we're innovating in India. Ankit Mehta, that's an important difference to make. We're also going to be exporting from India.
Absolutely. I think what Ashok sir said, I think it's really, really important that we recognize the fact that India is no longer dependent entirely on the rest of the world to give it technology. I mean, I completely second his sentiment that it is actually very, you can say, demeaning to the Indian technology in the Indian context, where we are trying to say that we can't actually build technology in India when we have some of the biggest and the best global institutes in the country that have done us so proud in the rest of the world. The same talent, if it can do well there, then we can do stuff here as well. And that's what we are showing over the last 20 years at Idea Forge. That's what we've been doing. We've been building not just technology in the country, but we are also building some of the best capabilities in the world in the categories that we build for. I think that confidence will see a huge boost now. And we will see more people coming into this area, and we will see that more people will have the courage to not just get stuff from outside, but to make it such that it can be relevant for the rest of the world. And India is a great testing ground for that. In India, we have to make technology that has to work, not just now. We have tested them in real conditions, real crisis, or a real moment of, you can say adversity with our neighbors, but we also have to build for them in the peacetime to work in some of the highest operating environments in the world. We are talking about flying at more than or operating at more than 6,000 meters, operating at minus 30 degrees, minus 40 degrees, operating in the deserts of Rajasthan, operating in the marine environment of our country. So building technology in India is really a testament to building very high quality stuff that actually works and can work anywhere else in the world as well.
So, Ankit, let me just take a follow-up from you. You've echoed what Mr. Atluri said, that why this idea that, it can't be built in India, because it hasn't been. Let's be honest, things have been very different. And Make in India before Operation Sindoor was a great idea. But now the theory has been proven by the practical. So people need to see the practical to see that it's really working, which is why I'm asking, is this the paradigm shift? Is this the moment in the sun for the Indian defense industry? Ankit, that question to you first.
For a war scenario, yes. But if you look at what we've been doing in India, and we've been combating militancy, we've been combating terrorism for a long while now. And the technologies we have created to combat militancy, terrorism in our country, they are also showing up in a very big way. We will see incidents, but the amount of development, process, method, technology that is being conducted, and a lot of it homegrown for doing these operations. Again, India has actually real world tested systems that have helped catch militants, insurgents in many, many operations out there. So that is one part of what we are very good at. We have proven capability there. But now with what has been battle tested, again, we get to a new moment under the sun where it will be recognized globally, and we will see that our technology will be trusted as well.
Mr. Atluri, for the longest time, the biggest news on the defense sector used to be deals that were inking with, and this was part of state visits, where you'd be inking deals with a European nation, with the United States, with Russia. And there was always this idea of transfer of technology, TOT. Ashok Atluri, the question to you. Where it would be, okay, India will get some transfer of technology in return for these large orders that we're giving. Has that TOT built the base of what we're seeing today, or is this an indigenous PLI incentive scheme-backed push that we're seeing? How exactly has this gotten the Kickstarter it needed?
I think the products that we have developed are my personal view is that it's completely indigenously developed. Companies like Ankit's IdeaForge, there's some other companies in drone segment, and Zen Technologies has been the forefront on R&D, and we have been working on a counter drone system since 2018, when there was complete silence about anti-drone systems. We were talking about anti-drone systems. What I think is whatever have been battle tested were completely indigenously developed. Some of the product, but some products, of course, have been imported. But I think this has the key, the paradigm shift here has been that India can develop and it works in the actual war. That confidence that the government must have got from now. So the follow-up action should be, the one thing any startup or any even existing player wants is, what is it? We want orders to come in a regular flow. And we want to build our capacities for a full-fledged war. Somebody was asking what kind of capacity should India have. We should think of a multi-front war from all our enemies, and we should say that if the full-fledged war is going and the expenditure of the ammunition, the equipment happens on a per-day basis, we should be able to replace. The industry should be able to replace. That is the capacity that we need to build, and government has to come forward, and especially in some certain segment, they should say, listen, this is the spare capacity you need to keep for a full-fledged battle kind of scenario. I think that confidence has come in after this event, and we feel that we feel almost redeemed that we bet big onto the IP development for the country.
Oh, redeemed and how? Redeemed and how? We're putting that up on our screen. These are the industrial heroes behind Operation Sindoor, and of course, full salute and respect to our armed forces. But these are the guys that are making sure it's indigenous. We're not dependent on anybody who can use their equipment to us as a bargaining chip or operating leverage, and that makes a huge difference whenever you are in this kind of a scenario. Ankit Mehta, I want to understand what is the kind of capability we're developing, because one thing that we've seen in Operation Sindoor, and which is why it's marking what new age warfare looks like, that everything has happened without crossing borders on both sides. No one crosses any borders. It's all very technologically driven. It's a lot of stealth weaponry which comes into use. So this is truly at the cutting edge of what we're seeing globally. Is that safe to say, or is it an overreach?
No, absolutely. I think from the point of view of the counter-drone systems that were very effective in neutralizing the kind of challenges and the kind of attacks we were facing on our side, we definitely have proven that we have one of the best anti-drone and anti-air defense technologies in the world. And some of it is indigenous, some of it we have gotten from our partners, some of it is legacy systems as well. And all of them worked in a layer format to prevent an attack on our soil and our territory. And on the other hand, if you look at what we attacked with, again, I think the technology has to be there to do the kind of precision attacks that we have done on the other side, where we have been almost inch perfect in terms of what we targeted and where those munitions landed and how they were able to create the necessary damage that we were seeking on the other side. So yes, technology now going forward will entirely be dependent on the use of the aerial power, the unmanned systems, both in terms of attack and in terms of defense. They will be required, and they are also required even before any of this starts. They're required to gather the intelligence on the other side. They are supposed to operate in our territory and get us intelligence of what is happening on the other side, so that we can get the right kind of targets to look at the kind of targets that we can zero in on to ensure that we are able to be precise in what we are doing. And that precision is something that was very, very critical in India's operation. The ability to maintain that we have been very precise and very, very specific in what we did, I think is a huge win for our country. And that's the future, where we are going to do in any war scenario an end effect that is very clear, that it achieves its precise objective and does not cause too much collateral damage. And that's going to be very important as we make sure that we get rid of the challenges that we face from across the border.
A precision without collateral damage. I mean, that's really the kind of thinking we want. Mr. Atluri, just want to understand the extent of technology and how we would compare to say what we now know and see across the world. Because it's one thing for us to say, and Operation Sindoor has shown that tactical excellence as well. But in terms of just pure hardware, weaponry, technology and capability, how do we compare to some of the biggest defense producers of the world?
So in terms of counter drones, I think we are absolutely there, and because we have demonstrated it. We need better integration with the weaponry system that we have. That's an ongoing process at this point. That's a proven process. I wish the armed forces accelerate the induction of that. But again, we are absolutely on and absolutely in top one or two as far as the counter drone technologies goes, ability to intercept, and very preemptively. One of the things that we did was lot of problems that the procurement process now we're facing is they are buying counter drone technologies with commercial drone capabilities. That means to say only DJI drones or something which fly at 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz are being stopped. But when we started investing much ahead and saying, listen, the terrorists or the government supporting them will not stick to the commercial frequencies. They may come with any frequencies, and lo and behold, we have actually seen in this scenario that they were flying in all kind of frequencies, and our systems are able to thwart them. Again, very few companies in the world are doing it operations at this level. So I think this was really proven that what we are giving is not a second kind of thing. It's absolutely in the top of the products in the world.
And Mr. Atluri, may I point out, without any media spotlight or glare, I mean, you and I speak pretty much every quarter, and of course we discuss your numbers, and sometimes you talk about what the new products, etc. are, but not just you, for the industry as a whole, no media spotlight, no glare, no information on what India is really building till it is in action, and that also becomes a very important part.
Very frankly, when this thing came, our guys are there supporting the armed forces at the place of action. So the general feeling in Zen was, this was the moment we have been built for. And we were completely all out, saying what can we do at this point in time to support the Indian armed forces to win the war. And I think that commitment is much more than the the orders that we are getting, the thing that I could see that when companies that are not having that high agency, that factor of that patriotism, will actually, when the war comes, they want to back out, which is kind of strange. So we are, I mean, this is the time we really put your heart and soul in supporting the government. So I think we, as a company, it also kind of proved to us that, these guys were actually fighting with each other to go to the fronts. So, I think we are very lucky in that way that the company is, completely committed by heart and soul to ensure that India wins every war, not only now, but in the future also.
Just amazing to hear. That's just amazing to hear, because it's intertwined. It's nationalism, patriotism, of course, profits, balance sheet. You are a listed company, so there will be that scrutiny. Ankit Mehta, we've hopefully got your line back. Just this point of how we compare with the best in class, because that's also important. We shouldn't lose sight of that bigger picture there if you want to continue to excel at this pace.
No, absolutely. So if you look at technology, particularly insofar as drones are concerned, and Ashok sir mentioned regarding what is happening in counter drones, but insofar as drones are concerned, there are many categories. There are categories that you can create that can launch from the palm of your hand, that can observe the target right in front of you, maybe a house or something else. And then you have drones that can operate from 5 kilometers away to go to the house and observe it, or maybe from 100, 200, 300. So it depends on from where you want to take off and go and observe your target. And each category has different roles as well. Some have the ability to observe the target, some have the ability to attack the target, and some will have the ability to have some kind of other sensing that may be required in that area. So in different categories, our drones will compare to different players in the rest of the world. And if I talk about this palm launch drones, I think India has just started. So that category, perhaps we are just getting started in the country. But if you look at one category that exists between 5 to 20, 30 kilometers, I think India has the best drones insofar as intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance are concerned in this category. Some of the drones that we build outperform what the rest of the world builds by a significant margin in terms of capability. Then there is a capability above that. Again, India is getting into that category right now, and we will progressively build the best in the world as well. So there are some categories for which we are already very, very good, and there will be categories that progressively we will become better at. And I think this experience in the war will also make sure that what you build is resilient and is capable of operating in the kind of environments we are going to see in the war. Going forward, we will need resistance to electronic warfare equipment on the other side. We will need resistance to making sure that we have capability of upgrading the intelligence of our systems in the field so that, like Ashok sir said, we need people on ground to make sure that they can adapt to any situation as it evolves on the ground. So there are many learnings, and those learnings have to be translated into what we buy, and that is what's going to drive us and propel us to be ready for the next wave and the next iteration of what can happen.
So this becomes crucial in the next iteration. Ashok Atluri, what needs to be done to push us to our goal of being export surplus country in the defense sector by 2047?
I think we'll revise it to 2027. I think we should be really working very fast, and and I think what the government has already done: easy policy rules, PLI schemes, banning of import. These are the kind of steps, and IDDM. If you get these things right, and then they insist that indigenization should happen, the IP should be Indian. I think we will be on track. And very frankly, Tamanna, we are almost there in the sense that 2047 looks very, very far away. I think by 2047 we will be really. I personally think we'll be the largest economy in the world. But if we should get the policies right, where these, and now the policies are right. What the industry needs is the proven technology, people who have done. Please start giving them large orders so that they build the capacities. And even the procurement process, when you go, there is a platform called GEM. In that, you become L1, and they have something called the reverse auction enablement. Those are the kind of things that really kill the IP owned companies, because there's a lot of R&D involved, and people who are actually reselling products, buying and reselling, they can really cut down their prices and come down to a very, very low level. And that's the way to kill the technology within India also. So these river RAs and all those kind of things have to be removed, or people who have proven technology, give them lots of orders so that they can make the system and keep improving. Listen, the fact of the matter is, if there is a IP driven company, no matter how much they give, they are addicted to R&D. All the money will go into R&D to create the next range of products. So you identify those companies which have track record, which have created the IDDM, and then start giving them large orders, and they have already proven the technology. And I think that will set the path for the global domination in certain categories. Again, we don't want to be dominant in all the categories, but certain like drones, counter drones. We are also good at training simulation. We are the best in the world in training simulation, and robotics that we are trying to get into. So get to dominate. The Pareto. These are the Pareto fields in which, if we dominate them, we'll definitely become one of the largest exporter of defense goods in the.
I appreciate that, Mr. Atluri, but having said that, there is a tried and tested system of procurement in India, and looking at the history we've had over, the history of the nation, really, for the defense sector especially. I think if there is a transparent, tried and tested process, yes, it might be a little painful for you as an innovator, but that's part of what is important in a democracy as well. I'm sure you will appreciate that. But just fantastic speaking with both of you. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a very enjoyable conversation. IdeaForge CEO and co-founder with us today, Ashok Atluri of Zentech, also speaking with us on the watershed moment, the coming of age, really, of the Indian defense sector. That's all the time I have on The Big Question, but stay tuned. A lot more coming up on the other side on NDTV Profit.